Well, that's a plus.
Where do you see it? Oh,
It says starting stream health. That's a good sign.
I did turn this to mute, right? Yep, mute.
And rumor has it we are live. I don't know if everybody's seeing me or not, but we will see each other shortly. So,
There we go.
yay, there we go. Well. All right, so we are here live from my living room because we can't be in the buildings because of reasons that we can't mention on YouTube. So anyway, we're going to talk about digital notebooks. And so I am here, Jay Bennett, and Tami Grant is with me. And to get started, let's just talk a little bit about, briefly, because we've done this a lot, I think, in the buildings and whatnot, what interactive notebooks are. So the first thing I have on here is that it's an Avid strategy, promoted by Avid.
We don't own the idea, but
Yeah, so
it's one of our tools in the toolbox.
one of those good teaching strategies that are just good teaching strategies, right? So the goal overall tends to be to get students to interact and work with their notes, not just take them and not look at them, or to have very low quality notes that don't help them. We're looking for better quality notes that they actually work with.
We want them interacting. Well, that's why it's interactive notebook.
Yeah.
We want them to interact with their notes and be active participants in it. Can I ask real quick before we go too much further, if you guys can just let us know who's here?
Hit something in the chat, say hi.
Yeah, so we know who's here. And
We honestly don't know if anybody's actually seeing us at the moment. We're assuming that that's happening.
Could be
But
talking to ourselves when that's happened before.
somebody should be out there. Also, while we're getting started here, we do have a couple of giveaways, and if you look in the screen down here in the middle, there'll be a little code that shows up. That code, you can go to the link that's in the description, and that link will take you to a place where you can put in the code, and we've got a couple of gift cards that we can give away. We'll have to figure out how to get those to people, but we'll make sure that they're sanitized and hermetically sealed in plastic baggies before we send them your way.
Hi, Janet. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, so somebody's watching. That's good.
So we're not all alone. Okay, are we ready to?
All right, so let's dive into the digital side of interactive notebooks. The idea is to take this note-taking process that traditionally has been on pencil and paper, the interactive notebook page, and then make it digital. And there's some I'll just start out with advantages and disadvantages that I see. Some people are married to the idea that you got to do notes are best when they're pencil and paper, when I can feel myself writing on the page. And there is merit to that. So I'm not saying that digital note-taking is necessarily better than paper, just a different approach. And it has some advantages and some disadvantages to that. You want to speak to what you think on that side?
Yeah, so I asked my kids, and I was going to talk about it a little bit later, but we can talk about it now too. I did talk to my kids and ask them what they saw as the plus, and some of the advantages for me is the doing the glue and pieces would fall out, and then when you'd need the notebooks, the kids wouldn't necessarily have the notebooks, or they'd misplace them. I've had people who have left them in the cars and then they don't get them back again, and so there was always that problem for me. A big advantage is that I always have the notebooks with us, and they're always there, and I can push out stuff to them. Some of the things that my kids said is they liked it because when they're working on their notebooks, they know that I can see it and I can make corrections as we go, which I also appreciate. So, and then it just allows the kids to be creative, but learn how to be creative in a digital medium.
So there's two things that I thought of while you were talking about that. One is when they turn in their notebooks, if we're going to grade these or evaluate them in some way, give them feedback. If they give me their paper notebook, then they don't have their notes.
Right, that's true.
Whereas in a digital sense, they can turn it in and I can look at it and I can comment on it and whatnot, either in process, in the middle of the whole process, or at the end, and they can still have access to their notes and work with that. So that's good. And then the whole getting lost thing, right?
Right.
If it's a paper notebook, if your friend says, hey, did you get the notes from yesterday? And if you hand over your paper notebook, now now what, right? You're taking a risk there and not getting them back and whatnot. So from those respects, in those aspects, I think it's an advantage to be digital in that way.
And we're learning from the current situation that if I had all their notebooks, I can't get it to them. But
and
now,
they have it for weeks at this point, right?
Right. So I have access to all their notebooks, and you'll see when we go into set out, it's pretty easy for me to look just by one glance. I can see which students have worked with their notebooks, and it makes it really easy.
I have had a number of students where a student comes back from being absent for a couple of days, and they say to their friend in class, "Hey, did you get the notes from the other day?" And it's literally 20 seconds for them to go click and share the notes with them, and they have their full copy of the notes from those days.
Right.
And in some of the tools that we'll talk about, you can honestly share just specific pages
Right.
from the notes, so you don't have to share all of the notes, maybe just the notes from those days that they have access to. So
Yeah, and we'll talk about it, that the first slide we'll get into there.
Yeah.
That was a game changer for me as well. So, all right, are we
So
ready to?
different tools. I've been using Google Slides mainly with my students, and I believe you have too.
I use Google Slides. I'm a big proponent of Google Slides being the Swiss Army knife of Google Suite. So
It does a lot of stuff.
it does do a lot of stuff.
I've also used Google Sites,
Okay.
and I don't like it as much for note taking, but I think it's a really good way to interact with your notes and take those notes and compile them in a way that presents the information.
Right.
So not so much for interactive working with, but when you get all done taking notes and you put it all together in a package that you want to show to somebody, then Sites works really well. Docs works reasonably well. It's a little bit, in some ways it's easier than Sites because it's more familiar to most students, I think. But you're kind of limited in some aspects of what you can do. Again, I think Slides is the best tool that I've seen out there to doing that.
Agreed. All right. Do you want to
So
jump into where we set up?
yeah, I'm gonna move this cable over to you
Okay.
so that we can show your screen. If you want to slide it in there, and hopefully Marcus
not
will
to
be able
break
to
it.
get your screen up there. Of what you can do. Again, I think Slides
Just a
is
second to
the
get
best
into
tool
my
that I've
drive
seen
here.
to doing that. Hey, there's Kelly Grigerson.
Hey.
So,
Okay, so for me, the easiest thing, and I went through the kids with my kids on this, I open up, and because I want this to be like a notebook, the first thing that we do is go to File, Page Setup, and then I go to Custom, and I make it 8.5 by 11.
That's big. I make all my students do that. I've shown them. Most of them I've showed them multiple times how to get there, but that is a big piece for me because if they want to print them out for some reason, now it's
Right.
already formatted the right size as paper.
And I know, I'm not sure about other departments, but I know in CTE we like to have the kids leave with portfolios of their work. And so this is really nice too. They
Yeah.
can print it out. I know of one teacher who uses this to have their kids make digital books.
Yeah.
Which is nice too.
You
So-
can literally set that custom size, by the way, to any size you want. You can make it 8.5 by 75 if you want to, or any format size you want.
So once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and go to my, like I have a copy of some samples. Why is it not going down? What did I do, Marcus? There it is. Okay, so here's my, the sample one that I did. I have my kids do a hyperlink table of contents. So if I'm presenting it, and this was my, I've made up names, of course, I got to have Mickey in there.
I'm so going to steal this idea.
So then once you go there and I'm looking, instead of me having to go through the whole notebook, I just want to grade warm-ups, let's say. I click on warm-ups and I can go through all of their warm-ups. Now these ones don't have the answers because this isn't a kid notebook. So it makes it super easy. There's the projects they're working on. We did a unit on goals. There's all the goals sheets. So that makes it kind of nice. And then the kids are responsible at that point to make sure that they organize it. And one of the things that the kids said that they liked is they like, as opposed to a traditional paper one, if they put something accidentally in the wrong place, it's super easy to reorganize it and keep it all together. It also makes it easier for them to find things when they have this option.
So within slides, you can link to any of the individual slides,
Right.
which then gives you these clickable links, and those take you to other slides in the
Yeah, I
whole
think I
sequence of
have
slides, right?
So this is one that has been worked on by a student, and she's been gone, so I don't think her vocabulary list. She just has the list. But so what I've done here is we have a vocabulary list, and since they're now familiar with how to hyperlink from the table of contents, they're making their own video library. She's been gone, so it's not in there, but she would hyperlink the sign. She's made videos for each of these signs of vocabulary.
Sign language sign.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you. And then she's got all of her stuff in there. So I can go see what her answers are for warm-ups. What does this mean? Super easy. A little bit like front-loading it, getting them used to it, but now they don't even think twice about it. It goes fairly easy for them.
Let me just interject here.
Yeah.
This whole digital note-taking piece, it does take a little bit to set up. And so you've got to train the students. It's something kind of new for them. Hopefully, if they've been in my class or Tammy's class or one of the other classes where they're already doing this, that they would come in with some skills. But if you do decide to jump in and try some of these ideas, just know that there's a little bit of a learning curve for the students, and you're going to have to walk them through it the first time. How to set the page size or how to make a hyperlink or something like that.
Yeah, and my kids, the first day that we set this up, I gave them time to be creative, to make it their notebook. So some of them put pictures of themselves, and some of them just put pictures of things that they like. And so I gave them a chance to be creative, which they enjoyed as well. And then that also gave them time to kind of play and get used to it without high stress.
Let me. Jason has a question here. It says, "Do these notebooks live on the students' drives, Google Classroom, other?" So they live in Google Drive, which means they can be attached to an assignment to be turned in. So usually what I do at the end of a unit, I'll have them turn in their notes so that I can look at them. I'll put up a blank assignment in Google Classroom, and I just tell the students to attach their notes to that, and then I have the ability to look at all of them just like any other assignment in Google Classroom. So they do live in Google Drive. The students own them. And the whole permission thing switching back and forth, once they turn them in, I own them until I give them back, but that doesn't mean they can't look at them. It just means they can't change them.
So I run it a little bit differently. What I've done is I have, and I don't know if you can see this, but I have each period. So this is my first period, second period. That's just where I keep their notebooks. And because I use first slide, which we're about to go over in a minute, because I use first slide, it makes it easier to push all into those folders. Mm-hmm. So they, that first day when we're setting up and being creative, they have to share their notebook with me. So I have a copy of their notebook, or not a copy, it's shared with me. So, right, I have access to their notebooks. So, and let me
So you just have them share it directly from Google Drive so that you're like a co-author on a document.
Right, and it's I would open up the folder, but I'm afraid that some people put their first and last names, and I don't want to put that out there on YouTube. But so I just keep them in folders, and I'm able to go back and forth that way, and sometimes they write notes. There's a question in there from Donna asking about putting on worksheets, and so all of these things right here. I put some of these things on. Let me see if I can find one that's like that. So this one right here, if you can see, like
present.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. They can't change the background. All of this stuff right here is the background to the slide. So I've put the stuff on there. They have to draw in, or if I have time, I draw in the text box, and they answer it right on there. And it's the same thing with worksheets. Like I have right here, Cornell notes. They just put in they can't change this. That's going to stay no matter what. And then they just type on it, and that's how I do worksheets. And if you go down
to text boxes on top of whatever the background is, whatever the question is.
Yeah. So here's one, the Holocaust Project. It's the worksheet, and I've put in text box so they can go in, and then they could just type in the steps and what their final result will be. So that's how I deal with worksheets.
So Jason also asked, how does this work with math class? And I'm going to guess that his issue, and I've seen this issue a lot in math as well, in physics. You know, how do you put in a calculation? How do you do this without having to type all that stuff? And the short answer is it's not ideal, I don't think, but you could have them take a picture and they can insert an image real easily. Inserting an image is a piece of cake in Google Slides. So I would say that would be the way to go. They might work out a solution to a problem and you want them to put it in there, so they take a quick picture of it and then they can insert it into the slide for you to see and grade and comment on.
So to do that, I just go to background and then I choose image, and let's go to Google Drive, recent. And it should, so I've just recently been in there working on this process. So then once I do that and insert it, that is now the backdrop. So the kids they can't edit anything to the backdrop, but they can then add in, like I said, the text box. And
text box on top of it.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And so that's what I do to do, if I'm doing any kind of worksheet thing like that, I put it in there. So are you ready to go into the first slide?
Yeah.
So make the student folder, if you're using first slide, is going to be important to have the folder with your classes on it. I tried the first time doing this. I was going into every notebook and pushing slides in. And then I sent a text to Jay and I'm like, hey Jay, there's got to be an easier way. And he sent me something much easier.
I had literally just gotten an email. I'll give credit to Alice Keeler if you're familiar with who she is. She's done great stuff.
Amazing.
I'm on her newsletter, and I, like the day before, I'd just gotten an email from her saying, this is a cool new extension I've made and it does this. And then Tami says, I'm stuck doing this and it takes forever. And I'm like, I've got a tool for you.
And it's honestly, it's fantastic. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Alice Keeler first slide. And it's / first slide, but it does show up on their screen, right? They can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you go there, it's going to ask you to make a copy. And then it's going to ask for permission. Ta-da! Okay, so now depending on how fast the internet is, I'm going to keep checking back onto add-ons until first slide shows up. There's some of my other.
There, no, not yet.
Not yet, it's going to take some time. So what this is going to eventually have me do, there we go. First slide, I'm going to show the sidebar. And it's going to ask me, you want permission? Da-da-da-da. Yes, I really want to do this. I want them to have access. Okay. So I'm going to choose my folder. So in this case, I would say I would pick one of the folders. I'm not going to do that right now because, again, that'll show all the names of my students, and I don't really want that out on YouTube. But it takes it to so that this list right here, and I actually have a copy. I'm going to take this out and give it to you for a second so I can make it big enough so that they can see it but not see the names of my students.
While she does that real quick, Janet's asked, how do your slides become their slide? Right. And help me out with this, Tami, but there's a couple ways you can do that. One is you can do what Tami's doing at the moment, which is use first slide to insert a slide into their set of slides. The other way is you could give them a template. So you set up a set of Google Slides with these backgrounds already in place with the questions and stuff. So they have to start out with like 20 slides, let's say, in there where they're going to answer questions throughout a unit. And they go and get a copy of that set of slides. So they could start out with their own copy of all the slides you've pre-made, or like I said, you could insert one straight into their sets of slides that they've already made.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I do. I've slid it off to the side so that you can't see the names. Am I putting that in upside down?
Nope, it was right.
This is why I have.
Just got to line up. There you go.
Jay and Marcus. And
you good, Marcus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much to Marcus Bennett. He's been doing a lot of help for us on this. Yes. So I'm going to send a specific slide. So I just say send slide, and it's going to ask me what slide I want to push. Now, I've already linked, when it takes you through the process the first time, it asks you what slideshow and this is the one. So this is the one that I use, and let's say I want to send them the egg on the face again. My third period classes used to be in my guinea pig, so when this extra one shows up, they're going to go, oh, Mrs. Grant's at it again, and they'll just ignore it. But let's see, this is slide number 4. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet, and I'm going to say I want to send slide number 4. And it's going to start right here, and I'm going to switch off of it real quick, but it's going to start right away showing me that all of those slides are going into the notebook. Now, the nice thing about this is at this point, I can tell you right away who has not worked on their notebook because, I'm trying to move ones off so you can't see it. The slide that shows up should be the last one that I sent. So let me refresh that real quick and see if it starts showing it. Sometimes it takes a little bit for it to show up, and so it's just showing up the last thing that I put on there. But it'll show. So like right now I can see that these kids have not reorganized their notebook because the last slide I sent them is on top. So whatever I send them, that always becomes the first slide in their slideshow. Then they have to drag it.
First slide.
Right,
Yeah.
And then they have to drag it down to organize it. And as you can see, this student does not have their last name on it. So she, when I look at hers, I can see she's already dragged things into the order that they should be
Proper
in.
order.
The proper
So,
order.
Aurelie is asking, is there any way you could do a video on how to set up digital interactive notebooks? I think that if there's interest, we could definitely do a video more specifically on
Yeah,
like first
absolutely.
slide and how to do that, or how to set up Google Slides. Some of these tasks about like inserting an image or inserting a text box and stuff like that, we could definitely get more into the
Right.
details of that in another video, and we
Right.
have plenty of time. So.
Yes, and you can see now actually that I've gone back, you can see that that slide that I just sent is now popping up as
Yeah.
their cover.
Yeah, great.
So that's,
Before, she was literally going and opening each person's set of slides and copying, pasting in a slide, and then opening the next one and copying and pasting for 140 students.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now it's just a click and done.
It definitely was a game changer. It makes it much, much easier for me to get any work done on that. So I'm just trying to find out what happened to
Awesome.
my, all right, I'm going to give this one back here
Okay.
to you.
that. And let's see, you did first slide. You want to show some other student examples? Are you pretty good with that? Or
Do you guys want to see some more student examples?
I've got some student examples as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, on your part. So
Yeah.
we can move over to the to Jay's part.
Yeah,
of it.
let's-
So let's see how yours is set up.
Let's see what I'm talking about. So on my classes, I have them turn them in at the end. And so I don't have, and now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of like Tammy's approach with the more interactive as they go through it with me. But in any case, what I'm doing is what I'm doing at the moment. So as we go through the units and we're taking notes, they are taking notes, they are copying and pasting images from the textbook. As I talk about these different topics and different diagrams, I'll tell them, hey, in your notes, make a note to go get figure 1027, for example, is this one. They take notes about it, and then some point later, when they have time, they'll go do a quick screen capture and pull that image over into their notes. So on these, this picture up here and the ones at the bottom, those are all straight from the textbook, and those are things that we've talked about. And so they've got notes here about those and the discussion we have about those points. Where it becomes more interactive is I ask them at the beginning of class, oftentimes I'll say, hey, take the next 5 or 10 minutes, get together with your partner and share what you got in your notes. Make sure that each party has all the important stuff. Maybe they got something that you missed or that you need to add to your notes. So they spend a few minutes each day doing that. And then I also ask them, let's see if this one has.
I really like how you have them pull over the images themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and that takes a little bit of training. It's not something that they were all comfortable doing the first day, but we had to go over the keyboard shortcuts and stuff, how to do
Right.
that. I have them put in questions, their own questions, as they read through the text or as we're discussing things in class. I have them put those in red, and then the answers that they find to them in green. And that typically happens outside of class. So there's another piece of being interactive with the notebook as they go. If I go to another example, another nice, neat one. Again, the questions that I asked them to come up with in red, and then answers that they find in green. Sometimes those come with a conversation from me. Sometimes they get the answers from the textbook, sometimes from their partner when they're discussing their notes and stuff. Again, diagrams clipped in there. I haven't done this yet, but it's just occurring to me that it would be awesome to teach them how to take a video clip and put it in there. The one catch at the moment is that it has to come from YouTube, and we're working on that. So in any case, it would be cool if they could like find a video clip to add to their notes as well. Would be good. So anyway, that's kind of what notes are looking like in my classes. Again, a couple of examples of what students have done with that. All right, so
what are some things that you, since doing this, have you seen a difference? Do you like it more?
I feel like the students are taking more notes than they used to. They're readable because they're typed instead of handwritten. And usually students, even if I can't read their handwriting, usually they can decipher their own handwriting. But when you go to share it with another student who maybe was absent, or if they're asking me to give some input on their notes, or if I want to see their notes, it was often hard for me to read what they were writing and copying down. I do like the ability to pull in things that you couldn't do in pencil and paper. Taking an image from the textbook and putting it into pencil and paper is challenging. Can we do it? Can we take a picture and print it out and cut it and paste it? Yes, but that's more difficult than it is when a purely digital stance.
And it is taking up a little more time. I like that also because in the notebook I have the ability to put in work as well. And I like that with slides they have that part underneath where they can leave me notes. And questions. And I can see where they've struggled, and they're pretty honest about it. Plus, again, it's really hard for them to say, oh, sorry, I don't have them today, because if they don't have their Chromebooks, they have their phones with them. Right. And I'm like, okay, let's put the phone to good use today.
Strange how they never seem to forget their phone.
Right. And the notebook's right on their phones, and so there's no getting around. We don't have it. And occasionally, and it's really rare where I have a kid that doesn't have either, well, then I let them, sign in on one of my, my Chromebook. Yeah. And I have their notebook on my Chromebook because it's in my drive, and so it's really easy for them to be able to access that as well.
Kelly says, that's awesome that you can show how to do all those in front of us who are impressed but clueless in another session. I love seeing step 76, but I'm a step 1 kind of guy. We get that. And we would love to do specific videos. I think first slide would make a great one.
Yeah,
I think we could definitely do a whole session on just Google Slides and how to input things and set things up with students. Absolutely.
Well, and this is our first time trying this, and so we want to know from you guys what would be more helpful, what we could do better, what kind of things you'd like us to do, so that we can be as productive as possible during our unscheduled time off. So
yeah, Janet also says, in your class, Jay, do students type all that content? By and large, yes, but I do encourage them when they find text, like in the textbook or a website resource, if they've got a good answer to something or a definition from something or whatever, copy and paste is a great way to go. So no, it's not quite all of that typing. And the notes that you were looking at, if I showed you one page, they probably turn in 7 or 8 pages, and that's probably over the course of a couple of weeks. So it's not all that much at one point in time, but they do have the ability, and I do encourage them to copy and paste when it's appropriate. Like I said, if they've got a good definition and the book's already laid it out nicely, then absolutely copy and paste that over into your notes. Good question.
I've also had students do things where I may have put the sheet out there, and I want them to describe it to their partner. And so they'll describe it, and then to guess if they know it's right, they can insert things like little stars and stickers and things. And, I know they're 14 to 18, 19 years old, but they still love playing with stickers.
Yes, they love
still
stickers.
love you doing all that stuff. And so
Do not
it just
understand
makes
why,
it,
but they love stickers.
it's like hardwired
Yeah.
into us. So I do like that it still gives them the chance to do some of those things that they got to do with the paper. And most of my students that I said, I did have one student who said, I prefer, like, I like how the digital works. I like that I always have it with me. I like that I have access to it. But I really like writing stuff too. I feel like I learn stuff with writing.
Yeah.
Which is valid. And we know that there's some research about that, but we also know that this has a lot of pros for it as well. And most of my students, in fact, other than that one student, everybody else said things like, it's easier to organize for me. If I'm in the paper notebook and I put it in the wrong place, then it throws me off. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm as completely organized after that. Whereas with the digital, it's just a drag and drop and reorganize and figure out where it goes. And
Yeah, that's a big thing for me. The type A in me goes, if I put this down here and then I need to add something up there, how am I going to have space for that, right? And so I can totally see that as being an advantage. Christina mentions, I can see SPED students using this in a simplistic approach with backgrounds. I've seen in SPED rooms some students come in and one of the first things they do, for example, is they click on usually in this case it's not digital, they're pointing to, how do I feel today, right?
Right.
Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I having a good day, bad day? And they point to the happy face, sad face, or whatever. This would be a great way to do that digitally, and they can click on the face that's happy or the face that's sad or whatever. Things like that, I think could go great. And then it could be a link, like you were showing in their table of contents, that takes them to a page where they could, input in a text box what they're happy about or what they're sad about.
it also gives you the opportunity to modify assignments as they need to be modified. So I can make more than one slide for the same assignment, and that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody sees that that assignment is slightly different for them or has been modified for them. They see their notebook and that's it. It also, I've used the digital notebook for AB projects, which I'm not sure like if some of the other subject matters do AB things.
So
we do
what is
AB
that?
like partner A has some of the information and partner B has
Okay.
some of the information, and they have to ask each other questions. So I can go in there and say I'm sending slide A to the first half
Yep.
and slide B to the second half. And then what that does also is that they have to, it pretty much, it's randomly partnering up.
Right.
They got to find like an
They
A
gotta
partner
find a
has
B.
to find a B partner. And they know that those things aren't going to, that they can't see each other's. And it also, instead of having to try to put your paper there and hide
Yeah.
it and then ask that it's already, they can't
That's
see it,
awesome.
the screen's already there. And so
Yeah.
they can interact with each other that way too.
Sure.
Which is great for vocabulary and things like that.
Before I forget, down here in the bottom is that code, and the link to the giveaway is in the description on the YouTube page. So hit that link and put that code in. We do have a couple of gift cards. I've been told they're coffee cards. So
Or tea or cocoa if you're
yeah.
like me.
yeah,
Dutch Brothers and Starbucks is what we have.
There you go. So we'll be giving those away. We'll do a random number thing with the entries afterwards. And if somebody wasn't able to watch the live stream, this will be posted to the YouTube channel. Somebody asks you about it or whatever, you can let them know. They can watch it later. It'll be saved there. We'll keep the giveaway open till midnight tonight. And so we'll pick sometime tomorrow and make sure we get those out to the right people.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else as we wrap up here? I think we're kind of getting on to the time we were telling people. I don't want to keep people much longer than we.
Right. I was just looking to
anticipated.
see if we haven't answered a question that you needed, if you want to pop that in there real quick, we'd be happy to
Yeah.
try to answer everything.
Also, if you want to put comments into the actual comments once the video gets posted, there's a comment section underneath. You put comments in there, we'll get to them. If you have requests of content you'd like us to cover, like First Slide or Google Slides or anything else, we'll consider. Like I said, we have plenty of time. So
Right. We can go more into depth and topics. We were kind of starting from scratch and seeing what we could do and what you guys were interested in.
we literally threw this together, over the last couple of days, and the actual equipment set up this morning. So, so we got it figured out now. We can do this whenever and see how it goes. So.
And the distance learning is, and this is good practice for us because we don't know where we're going to be going as far as our own digital learning.
We could all be doing this soon. So.
All right.
I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for joining us, and hopefully we'll get to do this again. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell at the bottom as well to make sure you get notified when we do this in the future. I'll try and keep sending out emails through the email server as well, just to make sure everybody gets a chance to see everything. So thanks everybody, and thanks for joining us.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.